It's a method called the boyfriend method, where men like pretend to be in love with a woman and they love bomb her in order to like pimp her or whatever, right? It's what they charging Andrew Tate them with.
Oh,
So
the
her
lover
son,
boy method.
yeah, lover boy method.
He deployed the lover boy method, where you would make women fall in love with you. You would then persuade them to do webcam stuff, right?
TikTok.
Okay, but wait, let's call it webcam stuff, right?
No, let's not call it that. The indictment is about TikTok.
Okay, what would you make the women do, or what would they do with you?
I don't make anybody do anything.
Okay.
In fact, let's talk about the Loverboy method. So it's very interesting. Let's imagine the Matrix is pissed off with a said individual who's telling too much truth and everybody is listening to him, and they decide they're going to attack him with sexual assault claims. They say, he's making women do, well, we found conversations where he gave advice on how to go viral on TikTok. He's making women do TikTok, but he isn't being horrible to them. He's not hitting them. He's not being mean to them. So what can we do? Let's use the Loverboy method. If I was abusive and mean, they wouldn't say Loverboy method. Do you know what Loverboy method means? Being nice. He was nice and polite and kind, and they really liked him as a person, and he told them how to do TikTok.
But that's not what the
He's
lover
a lover boy.
That's not,
of course it is.
Andrew, that's not what the lover boy method is.
Absolutely it is.
And there's so many things that they have to unlearn sometimes, right? So we have to understand in a lot of situations where if the father is missing, the mother will absolutely demonize the father in his absence, whether he tried to be in a life sometimes and not. So that reinforces how they feel about men. That's why they might feel like men are so negative. There's bad example. Their father's not there. They don't have the full context of everything that's going on. And so then if the mother, unfortunately, beats them in the head and says, listen, yeah, he ain't shit. The hell with him. Men ain't shit. This happens, right? So just to reinforce that horrible stereotype, they do that sometimes. And then they don't have any good examples directly in front of them. And you may not have access to those good examples. Hopefully you can find, whether it be in the church, whether it be in the community or somebody that you can gravitate towards. But in our impressionable years, we don't understand the magnitude of this. We don't realize the importance of this and or understanding what outcome it's about to lead to. And that's the tough part. We realize that when we're like 18, 19 or whatever, we're kind of on our own and trying to navigate things, don't even understand what it is that we've been through and how it's going to affect us in real life. So what we have to do is we have to start looking out for the youth, because a lot of times they won't be able to realize it themselves. A lot of young ladies don't want to be like that. I don't think that there's a single black woman in the world who wakes up in the morning and says that, yo, I'm about to be mean as fuck today. I don't think so. I doubt it. Right. So there's certain things that happen to people, and this is a trauma response. And for us to be able to get over this, overcome this all together, then we have to start our intervention early. So it's going to be up to the mothers and fathers, right? So the main thing that we're going to have to start doing, which we touched on a little bit earlier, is start establishing that you're going to be with this person for a very long time before you decide to have children, right? We understand that there are circumstances you can't control, but there are many that you can, right? I don't want to see people who have 5 baby mothers or 5 baby fathers. I think that's ludicrous, because it strips the child of an opportunity to have a stable household, and we know how critical that is for development, and it will never be able to get out of that vicious cycle if we don't start to witness these great examples of men and women for us to follow. So I think that's going to be the main thing, is to just start as early as possible in people's childhood, because that's when most of that trauma is developed. And then by the time you're an adult,
so the people that you can't start early, the people that already are adults, what about them? It sounds like you just
that's another thing we have to address that as well. But in my opinion, the most proactive way to do it is to start from young, because it's such an easier process. And just realizing the effect of it.
Retroactive way to do it?
Do you want me to answer your question, Darwin?
Go ahead.
All right. So, because you're talking about adults, and I could just tell you a couple of things I experienced. Therapy is very helpful. You can use a black male therapist that, if you connect with that person, they can serve as a sounding board, maybe for some people, a father figure, help you deal with your issues with men. If you can learn to trust that man, you know, that could help you trust. I know when I had my son, it just hit me like when he was born, I realized that I can't be against a gender and raise that gender at the same time. So if you love your son, you're gonna like figure out like, okay, what does he need? What he has feeling like, because when I was younger, I used to think men didn't have feelings, they didn't get hurt. I'm like, that's not real. I don't know why that was programmed in me, but we had to think of them as human beings. And so it really helped to have a son, and it helped me to give me the push that I need to grow. There are books on relationships. There's books on like psychology, how you think. You gotta study yourself and figure out, like Trev said, unlearn all the bad stuff. You got to figure out what your issue is. Journal, do some research instead of spending time watching the wrong thing. Learn more about yourself. How do you control your emotions so you can stop choosing what feels good, what's temporary, so you can look for the permanent and long-term thing, and start mending relationships. Start trying to heal, even if you can't talk directly and get a solution with that person. You may want to speak out loud, write letters, and heal from all the broken relationships that you have, because once you have sex with somebody, spiritually you married to them. So now you got to break all those soul ties. You got to get closer with God. That's the number one thing that you got to do, that you said already. And these things will help you. Learning about relationships will help you. Learning what men want will help you.
Okay, so good. That was great, Ruth. That was great. Back to the initial video. I was waiting to answer for you.
In Lapeef
Back to the initial video. So Darwin, I completely disagree with you when you were saying that what he was describing was demonic. I think it can be, so submission can be weaponized, right? So I'll start there. It's a method called the boyfriend method, where men like pretend to be in love with a woman and they love bomb her in order to like pimp her or whatever, right? It's what they charge Andrew Tate them with. So
the lover boy method.
Yeah, lover boy method.
He deployed the lover boy method, where you would make women fall in love with you. You would then persuade them to do webcam stuff, right?
TikTok.
Okay, but wait, let's call it webcam stuff, right?
No, let's not call it that. The indictment is about TikTok.
Okay, what would you make the women do? Or what would they do with you?
I don't make anybody do anything.
Okay.
In fact, let's talk about the lover boy method. So it's very interesting. Let's imagine the Matrix is pissed off with a said individual who's telling too much truth and everybody is listening to him, and they decide they're going to attack him with sexual assault claims. They say, he's making women do, well, we found conversations where he gave advice on how to go viral on TikTok. He's making women do TikTok, but he isn't being horrible to them. He's not hitting them. He's not being mean to them. So what can we do? Let's use the lover boy method. If I was abusive and mean, they wouldn't say lover boy method. Do you know what lover boy method means? Being nice. He was nice and polite and kind, and they really liked him as a person, and he told them how to do TikTok.
But that's not what the
He's
lover boy...
lover boy. Of course it is.
Andrew, that's not what the lover boy method is.
Absolutely it is.
The lover boy method is where perpetrators woo victims with the prospect of a loving relationship until they can be forced into abusive situations or a form of slavery.
This is garbage.
That's actually what it means.
The lover boy method is being nice to people so that you work together, effectively what they're trying to say here. I was nice to girls who asked me for TikTok advice, and they sang us the lover boy method. I didn't beat them into doing TikTok. I didn't force them. I didn't threaten them. In fact, I was like, yeah, you're very pretty. You can be pretty famous.
Was there any element of coercion?
How can there be an element? What does that even mean? Let's be professionals here. What does that even mean?
What do you think coercion means?
I was coerced into this interview.
So submission can be weaponized in that way. The other way is, like the ladies that have said about their fears about following somebody who really is not sure what's going on or where they're going, but just demanding and requiring submission, and the woman not acquiescing the way he feels she should, and it turning violent. So those are ways where submission can be weaponized. And if she's truly submissive, it would be in her mind to not leave him through that, and it can escalate and get worse and worse. Now those are worst case scenarios using submission. But so what I took Buddy in the first video, Rico, what he was talking about was the harmony that exists when submission is done right. Because I do believe in 100% submission. I do. Ideally, I would want to be able to 100% submit to God first. as a man. So the instructions and order that you be getting would be coming from God or in a godly principle, whatever your faith is, and you move forward with that and impart those instructions onto the people that follow you from that point forward. When it comes to the 100%, so an example of that would be leaders create more leaders. So I would say I got 100% control over the way my wife thinks and what she does, because the way that we grew, like as I grew and I taught her what I knew, and she began to accomplish and do better and better. The way she thinks, I had a very important hand in molding the thought process to how she solves problems, how she resolves things. So it's not me standing over here saying, yeah, turn left, turn right, turn. It was me coaching her and guiding her to the point where she gonna make a similar decision that I would make. So it's not like overt me being demeaning and on top of her to be in control of her, but it's been guided in a way where she gonna do, I could trust her to make the same decision I'm gonna make because I trained her in that way. So that would be an example of that. And it's also why we don't have no fights or none of those issues, because there's no power struggle that exists. The dynamic that exists within that is 100% submission, and my 100% submission to God, which ultimately is to my entire family, which is through self-sacrifice or sacrificial leadership. So it sounds perverse when you add some type of perversion to it, but in its purest sense, it's the way that we should operate from a biblical perspective, from a Islamic perspective, just from a spiritual perspective. When you're giving your all, submission, it sounds like it's a subservient state, but actually it's power inside the submission. Because I said this before, but a woman that wants to fight with me or do those things, one, that relationship will never last. I'm not about to deal with that shit and deal with and do anything as far as moving forward. But she has no control or ability to influence me, because that fighting and that bucking is going to be met with fuck out of here. But somebody that's actually submissive, they gain power through this submission, because now I hear everything you're saying and I have to take into context that you've given your all to me and I'm supposed to protect that at all times. So I have to not only think about myself, but think about you while I'm thinking about myself, or think about the family more than I'm thinking about myself. So yeah, I 100% agree with Rico.
I'm still kind of disconnected. Maybe I might need further context, but
Okay.
what you explained to me was submission or weaponized sounds like abuse and manipulation. Because are you trying to beat a woman into following you? That just sounds like, that doesn't mean she's submissive. That means she's trying to protect her life. You get what I'm saying?
No, so the question was, can submission be weaponized? That's how it can be weaponized, by somebody using the submission of a woman to take advantage of her in whatever way, and then the harm that's done is the weaponization of the submission. You understand?
Can you give me an example of that? I mean, I know you mentioned Andrew Tate, but like, you give me like
So when women fall in love, which is why submission is actually dangerous for them, and they truly submit, they're willing to do any and everything you ask of them. That's why you will see niggas who have women put cars in their names, who take out loan payments for them to go to school, who do all type of stuff that'll put them in a real fucked up situation, but they trusted in the man so much they was willing to go above and beyond and do any and everything he asked. Matter of fact, another example, one of my employees, at one point, her man had a felony drug case. They got pulled over, and he had crack in the car and told her to take the charge because he was on papers and that would just violate his parole. She, believing that was being submissive to him, did exactly what he said and ended up with her being in a whole lot of trouble. You see what I'm saying? Just following blindly can end in them type of situations.
But where I'm losing, I'm understand what you're saying, but where I'm losing you is that when a woman submits to a man, that it's not predicated off of whether there's a positive or negative outcome. It's just whether she just listens to him, follows him, and bends to his leadership and direction. Now, whether the outcome is him benefiting and she not benefiting, that's another story. But submission is getting in the door. Like, what do I do to get this woman to lean in my way or take my side, take my position on life, on how to live and how to operate?
So
Now, whether or not she's being manipulated, that's a whole nother story.